What's going on, Falcon fans? It's your boy Ricardo coming back at you with another video. So today we're going to talk about the coaching search and where we're at today. Atlanta Falcons have requested, interviews with several coaches. We're going to talk about that. We're still going to talk about rumors of coaches that they have not requested searches for as well. And in the end, what is Arthur Blank looking for his next head coach? A lot of things that you could kind of look at and kind of figure out maybe what he's looking at, because he have, dismissed Arthur Smith and what he's actually doing with the current coaches that's still on the roster kind of speaks volumes to maybe the direction that Arthur Blank could be thinking about. So guys, with that being said, before we get into the video today, go ahead and please subscribe to this channel. Please hit that notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys are here to talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come in and hear me talk about. That's right, guys. These Atlanta Falcons. So, right off the bat, we gotta come in here. What's going on, Ricardo? Great channel, bro. Thanks, man. I'm glad you guys come in to the channel every day to come look at me talk about these Atlanta Falcons. This is my passion. This is something I like to do. And it's going to be an exciting season, or it's going to be an interesting off season for us, to say the least. So, guys, we're going to get right into one of the things I want to talk about first is the Falcons are blocking interviews for coaches on the staff. And I think this is really important. It's really to kind of look at what this means. First of all, what this means to me when I think about Atlanta Falcons blocking interviews for coaches is that they respect the coaching staff that was in place already. They have to, because when you fire the head coach and he had input into your staff that he had on the roster, and they're not just quickly to dismiss those guys because they didn't think they didn't know how to coach. It tells you that it was some things that they really liked about this coaching staff. I just feel like as the leader of the team, the Arthur Smith, that he was not the guy for them. So only thing I don't like about this, because if you bring in a new head coach, usually, and I talked about this several times, go back, you guys, you bring in a new coach, they're going to bring in their own staff, right? That's usually what happens, right? So, blocking, the interview for Maurice Williams to actually get another special team, coaching job, be the special team coach for another team. I don't think that's right. Ryan Nielsen, who we really liked what he did with the defense this year, trying to block him, and then Dwayne Ledford, what he has did for our offensive line. All three of those guys, just getting blocked, which means, like I said, the current, staff or the coaches is good. Arthur Blank did mention Arthur Smith never lost the locker room. I think all the players respect him and his coaching staff, but the direction Arthur Blank wanted to go in, just telltale. And in my opinion, I believe this kind of going to try to shed a light on the next coach for the Atlanta Falcons. It just, to me, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that just a minute. Before we start going down this road with these coaches. So my picks are Jim Harbaugh, Ben Johnson, Bobby Slovic, or if he's available, Eric Bieniemy, but I think he will stay with the Commanders. There you go. We're going to get into all those guys in just a minute. I don't want Bill Belichick. It's going to be interesting, and I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. We think about the whole ideal of a Bill Belichick. All right, guys. So we just talked about the coaches. So let's talk about the coaches candidates for the Falcons so far, and I'm just going to really talk about the coaches that we know that they have already decided to request interviews for, and then the guys that we hearing big noise about, right? And that would be guys like Jim Harbaugh and Bill Belichick. So that's what we're going to talk about. We just go down the list real quick. Honestly, personally, for me, I don't have a preference, and I'm going to tell you why I don't have a preference right now. Because before we get into this list, the reason I don't have a preference because I don't know the direction this team is going in. Because I feel like the job that was done over the last 3 seasons was the right way to do it. Right, they had to fix the salary cap. They had to get the roster correct. They did that. They got it. They got the roster correct. I mean, in the reality, the job wasn't. It was incomplete, and then they going to get another coach. So I don't understand the direction they're going in. So by going out and get these coaches and things like that, I mean, how do they feel that just getting another coach in, it's gonna put you in the right direction, especially a coach who never been a head coach before. So that's why I don't have a preference. I don't know. Because when I go down this list and I'm explaining why I don't know. So that's just the way I look at it. Jaden Knight said Anthony Weaver, D-line coach for the Baltimore Ravens, is getting on the interview. Yep. Yes, exactly. So let's go down the list. First, we're going to go down. And like I said, it's not my preference. I'm just going down the list of names. How I wrote them down on my paper here. So Ijiro, the defensive coordinator for the Panthers, is the first guy that I'm going to talk about today. And of course, this was a guy that the Atlanta Falcons was trying to get an interview last year for their defensive coordinator. However, the Denver Broncos blocked the interview, so the Atlanta Falcons did not get a chance to interview him. Then he ended up being the defensive coordinator for the Panthers. So we know the Panthers defense been solid for a long time. So not just last year, but they was really solid. He's a guy that that could come in and be the guy. The biggest thing about all these guys, and I think if you ever had to give a presentation to somebody and present your vision and things like that, that's what it's going to boil down to. And we look at guys, a lot of times, and they might be able to lead a team and be a good coach, but if you can't go into the rooms with these owners and and these general managers and staff and things like that, and describe your vision, how it's going to work, right? Because that was what it was saying about Eric Bieniemy. We don't know how true it is, but that was one of the things. So if you can't sell yourself and sell your vision and know the team and how you're going to be able to get the team, to the next level, that's a big deal. So, Ijiro Evero, if he come in, I think is a good, solid coach. But at the end of the day, he's never been a head coach, so I don't know. I mean, good candidate. I think all these guys are good candidates. So I have no idea if it'll pan out for us. Of course, he would have to come in. He had to find him an offensive coordinator. Who would that be? Of course, he would have to give that, part of his vision to Mr. Blank and his staff and things like that to figure out how he's going to do it. He's going to say what his plan is for quarterback, so on and so on and so forth. That's how you have to sell itself. So he's the first guy. Defense was really good for the Carolina Panthers this year. So I don't see a step back in our defense by hiring him. Will he decide to keep on our defensive coordinator? I'm not 100% sure. We just have to find that out. So that's one of the things you got to think about. So that's a good candidate, Ijiro Evero for the Carolina Panthers. The next guy is Bobby Slovic. So we know who he is, another uprising guy. Falcons fan forever. Just mention him. It's a guy that, if you look at what he was able to do with C.J. Stroud this year, right? So we know he could really come in and probably help a young quarterback develop and things like that. That's a good thing. We saw what he was able to do. So going to get a guy like Bobby Slovic and come in, you saw the offense was really good with the Texans. We get to see how they do in the playoffs because they're still playing, right? So he still get to add to his resume before he actually get to take the job, because he's still coaching right now, and we'll see how they do against the Cleveland Browns here this weekend in the wild card round. But Bobby Slovic is another guy, young coach, come in, really did a great job with C.J. Stroud. I mean, just look at the work he did. So good candidate come in, another young coach, never been a head coach before. So that's one of the things we got to consider. And a lot of people talking about the bad hires that the Falcons have made, but I put this in the same category with a Dan Quinn and a Arthur Smith, because both of those guys was really taught it out when they was coming out, to be their first head coaching job. And now everybody's saying they wasn't good coaches hires, which I say. So to me, it's like hindsight 2020. You're basically saying, because it's the same situation. Bobby Slovic got a good resume as a young coach, has potential to be a head coach, just like Dan Quinn, just like Arthur Smith. And now that it didn't turn out, everybody's saying it was a bad hire. And I don't see it that way. I see that it didn't work. It was good hires at the time because they were sought out as some of the best coaches coming out at that time. They were some of the best coaching candidates, just like a Bobby Slovic is, just like the Ejiro Evero. Both of those looked as good coaching candidates, but it didn't turn out. Now everybody's saying it's a bad hire. So I don't understand the difference in that. The next guy, Raheem Morris, right? We know Raheem Morris was, when he was a first head coach with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he was one of the youngest coaches to ever coach in the NFL, be a head coach. It didn't work out for him. Of course, we know. I think he coached there for 3 seasons. Endo under Dan Quinn staff when he came to Atlanta, and he actually served as the intern for the Atlanta Falcons. So he has familiarity with this organization. So that's one of the things we definitely can look at. He has familiarity with the organization. If they decide to bring in Raheem Morris, he has did an excellent job with the Los Angeles Rams. And then, of course, since he has that head coaching experience, a guy that can come in familiar with the organization, the second time around might be a little bit better for him. We know the organization is comfortable with him. They really kind of consider him before they went to get Arthur Smith. So Raheem Morris is a good candidate. A lot of people might not like because, his first stint with the Bucs and things like that. So we don't know, but Raheem Morris is definitely a good candidate for these Atlanta Falcons. The next 2 guys, both were from the Detroit Lions, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Ben Johnson, 36 years old, a young upcoming coach, has the top 5 offense since 2022. That sounds familiar to me. That sounds like Arthur Smith, right? When a hot coach coming up, it's the same thing everybody was saying about Arthur Smith. So Ben Johnson doing a great job in Detroit, just like Arthur Smith did in Tennessee, right? It's nothing different there, right? But it didn't work for Arthur Smith when he came to Atlanta. But it's the same scenario. So going out to get a guy like Ben Johnson, who has had success, he has a veteran quarterback in Jared Goff, just like Arthur Smith had in Tennessee. So what it would be Ben Johnson playing? Is he going to get a rookie quarterback? Can he develop young quarterbacks? We're not 100% sure about that. We know he does well with veteran quarterbacks. So what would be Ben Johnson's vision coming in? Of course, he does not have head coaching experience, so on and so forth. So those are some of the things they definitely got to look at with a guy like Ben Johnson. But he's a sought-out coach. He might be one of the top coaches that everybody's looking at to run their future franchise. A guy like Aaron Glenn, who has worked with Terry Fontenot before, he was one of the most sought-out coaches a while back. His defense, the way he runs his defense is really good. Now, the Lions defense has had its ups and downs, for a while, but Aaron Glenn is another guy that come in, like I said, familiarity with our GM right now, Terry Fontenot, because he was in New Orleans with him. So those are one of the things we definitely could look at, a guy like Aaron Glenn. The next guy is Brian Callahan, the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, but he has never called plays, right? We know their offense is dynamic, that explosive, but their head coach called plays for them. This is not the first time a coach has been hired and didn't call plays, right? He was offensive coordinator, but didn't have to call plays because the head coach called plays. So it's not strange. It's nothing new. They can definitely bring in a guy like Brian Callahan, and if he could come in and kind of replicate some of the things the Cincinnati Bengals did. Joe Burrow was a a young quarterback coming out and look at that offense, how explosive it is right now. So that's something that Brian Callahan could definitely come in and do that. I saw some of you guys mention Anthony Weaver, the Baltimore run defense coordinator. Got those guys, over the years. I think the lowest rush defense, 84.5 yards a game in the rushing. So Anthony Weaver is another guy. The Atlanta Falcons kind of was poaching a couple of teams here. They kind of poached the Lions coaching staff, and Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. Of course, they went and got looking at Anthony Weaver and Mike McDonald, both of those guys, defensive-minded guys. Once again, neither one of these guys being head coaches. However, they does have a track record. Look at that Baltimore defense. However, we don't think the defense was an issue with the Atlanta Falcons this year. So kind of, they will have to provide their vision. Who will be the offensive coordinators? Both are Mike McDonald and Anthony Weaver. Aaron Glenn, Raheem Morris, all those, Ejiro Evero, all those guys definitely would be where the Atlanta Falcons might consider, who's going to be the offensive coordinator. What would they be their vision for the offense? What would you do with a quarterback position? Do you going to go out and get a veteran? Are you going to go out and draft a quarterback? What's your vision with a guy like Desmond Ridder, who really did not play well this season? So all those are questions, the visions that they have to be able to explain, to the organization. Of course, Eric Bieniemy. Let me take back, because Eric Bieniemy did not get a request. Let's go over the last request here, and that's Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks is another guy that's probably should have been the head coach for the Carolina Panthers this year. Of course, their owners decided to go to different routes. Again, Frank Reich, but then guess what? They fired Frank Reich before the end of the season. So Steve Wilks had that team playing really well towards the end of the season last year, and they decided to go in a different direction. So Steve Wilks went to the Niners, one of the top defenses in the league. I think they're ranked 8th in defense right now. Steve Wilks does have head coaching experience. He coached one season with the Arizona Cardinals, and then they decided to go in a different direction as well, because I think he only won 3 games that year. So Steve Wilks does have, head coaching experience. He could come in and actually get his vision, right? Once again, what his plan for on the offensive side of the ball, because that's where the Atlanta Falcons struggled the most, right? That's where the Atlanta Falcons struggled the most, right? So I'm going to go over some comments here. We'll talk about it, but then I'm going to talk about the candidates that they have not requested interviews with, and get my thoughts on those as well. All right, so we got Falcon Fan Forever says it's really up to the players, not the coach, because he's not on the field. He has to build a great connection with the players. I see how players bounce around and leave, so I want the right guy. There you go. Yes, I wish we could have kept Raheem Morris. There you go, another guy. You talk about Raheem Morris. I think he could make a good coach, especially second time around, because he actually probably learned some things from the first stint. And like I said, he knows the organization. He knows his fan base and all that stuff. So Raheem Morris is definitely, one of the top candidates to probably be on my list. I had him written down too. Okay. Let's see. It's making me have a second thoughts on Ben Johnson now that I want the same results to happen. See, that's just my whole thing. Good thing about a lot of these coaches, we're going to see how they fare in the playoffs, right? A lot of these coaches that they request interviews for is in the playoffs. So we get to see how some of these guys, because they're building their resumes. That's what they're doing. They're coming out, they're building their resumes up, and we'll get an idea to see how some of these guys like Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, and pretty much all these guys are still in the playoffs right now. So that's an impressive list, because we know they had success this season. So, and the way the Atlanta Falcons coaching search is looking, they're looking for guys who's had recent success, right? Guys that have not been head coaches before. That's really good. But we get to see how these guys fare, in these next couple of weeks with their offense and defenses and stuff like that. I'm starting to second guess about him. I think OC are just a good OC, but we will see. And that's the point. I'm talking about. I mean, it's really really tough to figure out with a guy who has never been a head coach before. So because being the head coach encompasses all, not just your offense, right? You offensive coordinator, you just worrying about that, right? So that's why these guys got to be able to sell themselves and show how, I'm not just going to be focused on offense. I'm going to be focused on the whole team, and they have to be able to convince, the brass that they can do that. I feel like we need an offensive-minded coach. If we go defensive coach, why not Ryan Nielsen or Jerry Gray? It's a great point. It's interesting because they blocking, coaching, guys trying to request to poach our coaches right now, and Ryan Nielsen and things like that. Luckily, nobody ain't tried to poach Jerry Gray yet. But I agree with you. Both of these guys are solid guys, and if they want to try to keep some continuity, they could do that. They could just, promote one of these guys internally. So that's going to be interesting to see how this Falcon thing turn out. In the end, though, what's interesting, because I believe if you hire a new coach, they're going their own staff, and a lot of these guys are going to be without because now they're waiting, on to the Falcons decide what direction they're going on because they're still on the contract. I remember Steve Wilkes. Steve Wilkes is I think he's a solid coach. Another candidate that, like I said, got head coaching experience. Had that Carolina Panther team playing really well last season after Matt Rule was let go. So, another candidate. Yes, I thought about him coming here. I think Arabian would be a great offensive coordinator here, though. Yes, I agree with you. If he does not stay with the Commanders, whoever the coach is, I would, especially one of the defensive minded coaches, that would be my candidate. I would bring a guy like Arabian in. You have a good channel, bro. I will give you a shout out on my channel. Appreciate it, man. You have a good one too. So like I love our Falcons content creators. I really do. I like the different, opinions and things like that because everybody ain't the same. That's good. That's good, right? We one thing in common though, we all love the Falcons. And if you're doing a Falcon channel, you really gotta like the team because it's not like, we got the Cowboys and things like that. We ain't had no success really. So if you're a Falcon fan and if you're a Falcon content creator and you like talking about Atlanta Falcons because you really like this thing. So that's why I like about you guys because the passion is there. We want to win and things like that. We all got our different opinions the way they should do it, right? But so shout out to you for coming out watching my channel. Appreciate it. Exactly. Bill Belichick is not in the playoffs. The last playoff game was a blowout by the Bills. That's correct. But I'm gonna talk about Bill Belichick in just a minute. The most success Bill Belichick has had with Brady and other great players. Great point. He even had Cam Newton, Mac Jones, and Zach Bailey, and could look at the results with no rings with them. All those are great points. All right, so I'm glad you talked about Bill Belichick because he's one of the hottest topics circling around the Atlanta Falcons coaches search. But it's another guy as well that they talked about, and that's Jim Harbaugh. We know his track record. Actually, if you think about it, more recently, Jim Harbaugh, he actually coached the San Francisco 49ers. He went to three NFC championship games, and he went to a Super Bowl, right? Lost to his brother in one of the Super Bowls, of course, on Baltimore Ravens' last Super Bowl they had. He just won a national championship with the Michigan Wolverines. So he's a good coach. And he has coaching experience at all levels, and he's been successful at all levels. So this would be a coach. I don't think nobody in the fans base could really argue about a good hire, bringing in a guy like Jim Harbaugh, because he has showed the track record. He has had the veteran quarterbacks. He have had the young quarterbacks, and he has succeeded on all levels. So Jim Harbaugh would be a good coach. Atlanta Falcons has not requested an interview for Jim Harbaugh yet. I don't know if Jim Harbaugh has actually said that he's looking. I'm pretty sure it's behind the scenes, whatever. But at the end of the day, Jim Harbaugh would be a good coach. I could get with that because I have seen what he's able to do. I have seen the track record of what a guy like Jim Harbaugh is able to do. So all these other guys have nothing against those guys. And this is just the way I feel about, especially guys with no head coaching experience. I don't understand how it's going to be any different than the last hires that you had, because you don't know how it's going to turn out unless it turn out well. And it's not a crapshoot. What I'm saying is that if you're going to only give a coach 3 years, right? And that's what they did for Arthur Smith. They only gave him 3 years. And I'm not saying he don't deserve to be fired, because this season was just one of the worst seasons in Atlanta Falcons, especially, where the roster was built and how it went. But what I'm saying is that you had a coach that was one of the highly touted coaches coming out, during this hiring period. You gave him 2 years to fix the roster, and then you basically gave him this one season to show if he can really coach. And I guess he failed, but now you're starting over. So you hire a guy like Bobby Slovic, you hire a guy like Ben Johnson, and how long are they going to have? Because they don't have to go through the rebuild that Arthur Smith had to go through, right? They basically, you're saying you want to win now. This is what Rich McKay and Arthur Blank said. They want to win right now, right? That's one of the things that they said. So if you give a guy like Bobby Slovic, Ben Johnson, do they have just one season to prove that they can turn it around? Because in essence, you only gave Arthur Smith really one season. I know everybody say he was here for 3 seasons, but those first 2 seasons should not count. They should not count. So you hiring a young coach, and he had to fix the rosters. He had to do all that, and he had a terrible season this year. So it is what it is. But my point is that how much leash you're going to give these new coaches when you want to win now, and your roster is pretty much set to where you want it, because that's why you pretty much got rid of Arthur Smith, because you don't think he can get you to the next level, right? But you're going to bring in another coach who's never had an experience, has never been a head coach before, and how much leeway you're going to get this new coach. That's why I don't know what the Falcons looking for, because I don't understand it. I mean, I understand the firing 100%, but in essence, he only had one season to prove it, because the first 2 seasons don't count. I know they went 7-10 3 years in a row, but if you looked at those rosters in 2021 and 2022, they weren't supposed to win 7 games. They was not supposed to win 7 games in those seasons, because the roster was that bad, right? And then you get a good roster, and you have the expectations up here, and he underperformed. I agree 100%. So the reason I'm saying that is because I don't think they're going to go down the route of bringing in a brand new coach, a first-time coach again. Arthur Blank has done that every time pretty much, except for Dan Reeves, right? Except for Bob Petrino, which I don't know if he really counts, but he has went to a first-time head coach every situation. So the smoke around a guy like Bill Belichick and Jim Harbaugh is really, really there. It's there because Arthur Blank, this is what they said. They said that they want to win now, right? If you bring in a guy with a track record of winning, right? Everybody talking about Bill Belichick, and 100% agree with you guys. These last 3 seasons been bad, but the Atlanta Falcon roster is way better, from top to bottom than any of those Patriot rosters he had in the last 3 seasons. They really have been, right? And if Bill Belichick comes in and willing to let Terry Fontenot continue to run the personnel, and he just come in and coach, of course he had to find a quarterback. I'm with it, man, because I don't know if a new coach can come in and get it done. And I don't know how much patience Arthur Blank is going to let him come in and get it done. Right? Ben Johnson is an awesome offensive coordinator. Bobby Slogan has done his thing, right? But they have never been head coaches, and Arthur Blank patience obviously is not where he wants it at. I mean, think about it. Like I said, the first 2 seasons for Arthur Smith shouldn't even count it. And they went, maybe he did too well in those first 2 seasons to win 7 games, right? So the expectation was way too high, whatever. But he got 1 season to prove himself, right? Because we finally got a great roster. So we already got a great roster with the new coach. How long is he going to get? That's the question I'm asking. What's the direction this team? How long are you going to get a new coach, right? Because you want to win now. He come in, first time head coach. He's going to go through growing pains because he has never done it before. So it is what it is. Like maybe he be like, the young coach from the Texans, right? He hit DeMeco Ryans, hit the ground running. Maybe he's like DeMeco Ryans. Maybe that's the case. Maybe you might find something like a Mike Tomlin and excel right away, right? Maybe that's what it might be. Maybe that's what it's going to happen. I agree with that. That could happen. I mean, you look at the Detroit Lions coach, right? They came in together, Arthur Smith and the coach from Detroit Lions. The difference is they had a quarterback. They had a veteran quarterback there to help him, right? Arthur Smith he didn't have veteran quarterbacks. He had bad quarterback plays. Now, granted, he picked the quarterback. So, like I said, I'm not excusing him for getting fired because it was a bad season. But what I'm saying, from Arthur Blank's standpoint, what is he looking for? What is Arthur Blank looking for? That's what you got to think. It's not what we want. It's not what should happen and things like that, because these are some great coaching candidates that they're requesting interviews from, and one of these guys might blow them away and they're going to give them the time, right? But that's not what they said. They said they want to win now. They want to come out. So they're expecting one of these new guys, so brand new head coach, to come in and excel this team to the next level. And is that realistic? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm asking. Is that realistic? Or are they going to say, we're going to go with somebody who's proven, who has won championships, who has took their team, like a Jim Harbaugh, has excelled at every level? Are they going to go for that? Or are they going to go for a guy, Bill Belichick, who won 6 Super Bowls? Granted, all of them with Tom Brady, right? But at the same time, he knows how to win. He does. He still can coach. I do believe that. His personnel decisions has been terrible. That's why I'm saying, if he's willing to say, Terry, you pick the players, not just pick the player, you bring me the candidates and we do that 50-50 thing, the way it's been done here in Atlanta, and is Bill Belichick okay with that? I think him just being the coach would work. Now, how does he fit in Atlanta? I'm not really sure about that, right? The Patriot way, all that things. I think it's really, I don't know if that'll work in Atlanta. I don't know if that'll work. I really don't know if that'll work. So, and he's 72 years old. I understand all this stuff. They will have to figure out a succession plan, maybe, for him. He come in, he put his team on to a winning formula, whatever, then he be grooming his next head coach. I have no idea like how all that would work. I'm just saying, the hastiness of firing Arthur Smith and saying that we're not talking about a rebuild, we want to win right now. In my opinion, I just think that they're not going to bring in a first-time head coach. So guys like Raheem Morris, guys like Steve Wilkes, I think have a better leg up. Maybe if they don't go to a guy like Bill Belichick or Jim Harbaugh, because those guys don't done it before. I really believe that this time around in the coaching cycle, they're not going back and did what they did, because Dan Quinn was one of the hottest coaches coming out, right? Dan Quinn's had success. He did. He had success, but they gave Dan Quinn 5 years, right? Dan Quinn was able to get to the Super Bowl, but let's not forget he did have Matt Ryan and Kyle Shanahan helping him, right? So that's where Dan Quinn had. He had Matt Ryan and Kyle Shanahan, right? Matt Ryan won this MVP during that time, so he had a veteran quarterback, right? Arthur Smith was one of the hottest coaching candidates, just like a Bobby Slovic, just like a Ben Johnson, just like all these guys. Everybody taught him about that they won. They won. All these guys haven't proven anything as a head coach, just like Arthur Smith hadn't, right? And everybody saying it was one of the terrible. How? It was not. It was one of everybody was trying to get Arthur Smith at the time. Just like everybody trying to get Ben Johnson. Just like everybody trying to get all these other candidates that's here, right? So the question I got, I'm just asking. You guys can fill me in on this. What's different? What's the difference? Because they don't know if it's going to work. And he never been a head coach before. So just because what he did in Detroit, just what they did with the Texans, that's what Arthur Smith did with the Titans, and just what Dan Quinn did with the Seahawks. How we know it's going to work with the Atlanta Falcons? They have no track record. With these guys, those veteran guys, they have a track record. Maybe Bill Belichick's been coaching. He's been with the Patriots, 23 seasons? He know how to win. He know how to win. I mean, he does. I don't know how to fit. I don't know how it works. I'm not saying that it's a done deal, but I'm just saying it's a lot to think about. And I have no preference for who their next coach is going to be, because I have no idea and I don't understand their game plan, right? You come out and say you want to win right away, and you're going to bring in a first-time head coach. So I don't know. So that's why I'm thinking that maybe, just maybe, they're going to think different this time. And if that's the case, some of you guys' worst nightmare might happen, and Bill Belichick might just be the next head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. So just want you guys to think about that. Finna go through some of the comments. I had a lot to say, and I really don't, because I don't have a preference, because these guys, they good coordinators. That's what they are. They're really good at what they do. But are they going to get the Atlanta Falcons over the top? We've seen it. We have seen it already. We've seen this story, right? We've seen great touted coaches come to the Atlanta Falcons, and then they disappointing. They don't bring that same thing that they had at their last stop. Like, if Arthur Smith would have just run the number 1 and number 2 offense, red zone scoring offense to the Atlanta Falcons, we would be winning, right? Dan Quinn would have brought what he did to the Legion of Boom to the Atlanta Falcons. We would have won. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so if Ben Johnson can come in and bring that same top 5 offense since 2022 to Atlanta Falcons, it's a home run, right? If Bobby Slovic can come in and get a young quarterback like he did with CJ Stroud and have him play to that level, it's a home run hit. But we don't know if that's going to happen. And that's what I'm saying. Atlanta Falcons don't know if that's going to happen. And if not, are you going to give the coach time? Are you going to be patient enough to let him grow as a head coach? And are you going to be impatient and say, good job on fixing the roster, fixing the cap issues we had, but If you don't do good this one season, you out the door, right? That's pretty much what they did to Arthur Smith. Not saying he didn't deserve to be fired, but I'm just saying that's pretty much what they did. Like, they gave him this one season to prove himself, and he failed. He failed. I agree, he failed. But now they're going to go and like we're going to try the same thing with another young coach. Just saying, I'm just throwing it out there, guys. I have no, and at this point, I don't know what direction the Falcons are going to go in, because it seemed like maybe they have a plan. Maybe they know exactly what they're doing. And everybody keeps saying maybe they already knew Bill Belichick was leaving, because we know these owners are buddies. And Robert Kraft might have told Arthur Blank, yeah, Bill, I'm going to be done with him. And Arthur Blank's like, well, I want to take a chance at it. They keep saying they're going big fish hunting and all that stuff. We're going to find out here soon. So what we got here? Falcon fan ever says, do you think Rich McKay should be let go? And I hope Terry Fontenot won't be let go. Rich McKay is not going anywhere. He's the CEO. He pretty much the president of the Falcons. Dr. Blaine love him. He's not going to let him go. It's just not happening. So whoever's coming in going to have to deal with that as the head coach. I really blame Rich McKay on failing for the past few years. He's like the Howie Roseman is to the Eagles. Yeah, pretty much. Like they have to, and that'll change. If you get a veteran guy like Bill Belichick, he's going to run his own show. That's what's going to happen. But if you get a guy like these young guys that come in, it's going to be the same dynamic it was with Arthur Smith and Dan Quinn, so on and so forth. So that's how it's going to be. I can totally understand that first and second season were handicapped, but he still had 2 years to draft picks and stack defense full of veterans year and the worst performance. I agree with you. He did. Think about it, though. Everything you just said, he actually did that, right? He drafted and he stacked the defense, and he failed miserably. 100%. I agree with you. But basically, the new coach don't have that excuse for the first 2 seasons. That's the point I'm making. The new coach coming in does not have the first 2 seasons as an excuse. They only got this season. Basically what Arthur Blank and Rich McKay said, they're trying to win now. So if this new coach come in and he don't get us to the playoffs, did he fail? He got a good roster. He don't have to worry about the salary cap, nothing like that. He just need to come in, do good, find a quarterback course. That's the biggest thing. But do good in free agency, good in the draft. He should be able to hit the ground running. That's basically what Rich McKay and Arthur Blank said. So I agree with you 100%. Arthur Smith failed. Blank is looking for a big swing. If he can't land a big fish, Raheem fallback plan like Mike. Yes, I agree. I think Raheem Morris has a great opportunity to be the next head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. So Dan Quinn or Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll would not be a bad option as well. Pete Carroll has won on all the levels as well. I think he still got some coaching left for him. So Pete Carroll, you think about it. Pete Carroll with the Patriots before Bill Belichick and did really good. So that's because they went to the Super Bowl that year and lost to the Green Bay Packers. So just think about that. So that's another guy. Pete Carroll's another guy. They're not picking the hottest; they're picking the smartest. That's what I'm saying. All these things is good. So I'm glad all you guys saying this, right? Smartest, hottest, whatever. They're gonna pick the guy they think can win next season. That's what they're thinking, and they're trying to build sustainability, right? Picking Bill Belichick, how long will he last? Right, he's 72. So I said they might have to. He have to come bring in a succession plan when he comes and saying that I'm planning on coaching for this many years, but while I'm here, I'm grooming, a guy to take my spot. I'm gonna build this culture up, and then he could come in with that plan. I don't know, right? Something like that. Jim Harbaugh still got coaching. They bring in a guy like that. Like I said, I think he can hit the ground running right away. He has experience to do it. So those are some of the things we just got to see. Exactly. They can flame out without looking consistent in leadership. Said, hey, bro, it was nice being here. Have a good one. Thank you, man. Thanks for coming in, checking out the show. Ricky Gang said, my only issue with Bill, his plan, and will it translate to our staff and players, because it will be 2020 all over again. A lot of factors led to Smith firing. Yes. So this is a great question. So what would Bill Belichick plan be? Right? We know how he, like I said, that whole Patriot way, I don't think that works in Atlanta. So he has to be able to change. Somebody, I was listening to Albert Breer today. He I think was on one of the Atlanta Falcons radio shows, and he was saying that if you look at what Andy Reid did, he had a lot of, say when he was with the Eagles, but when he came over to the Chiefs, he was more of just a coach, right? If Bill Belichick is willing to do things like that, I think it'll work for him. Maybe he does not want all the responsibility he had when he was with the Patriots. Maybe he just want to be a coach, right? He's going to collaborate with Terry Fontenot, just like all the other coaches did with their GMs here in Atlanta, and they're going to build a roster. But then Bill Belichick's just going to coach it to his abilities. Is Bill the only coach to beat the record if he retires? I don't know, man. That's a good question. They're not getting rid of Terry. He's an asset. I know. I agree. I don't think they're getting rid of Terry Fontenot. So that has to be a sticking point. Also, a thing that Albert Breer mentioned, Terry Fontenot is used of a veteran coach, right? He's with Sean Payton for years. So he understands that dynamic with a veteran coach and knowing how to, and believe it or not, guess what? Sean Payton is from the same coaching tree as a Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells. So they from that same coaching tree. So it actually might work with Terry Fontenot and a guy like Bill Belichick. Guys, hold on just a minute. Sorry about that, guys. Oh man, who we got here? Let's see, we got Bill doesn't fit in the Atlanta black coach. All those are great points, man. Like I agree with you guys 100% on this. It's going to be interesting to see how all this factor out. What's going on, Wallace? Once Chargers hire their coach, the floodgates will open for the Falcons. I agree. That this is really going to open up for us. Let's see. I may have missed it, but if you're on the block with pick 8, where you're picking, you move up or not. So for me, of course, this all depends on who's going to be the head coach. So it's a great question. But I'm moving up. I'm moving up to get my franchise quarterback. I think it's enough guys in this draft. And you might find that guy. Picking a quarterback is always a crapshoot. So You know, that's go without saying. But I'm not gonna sit at 8 if I want to get a quarterback out of the draft. I'm going to move up to get him. That's just me. But this really depends on who the head coach be. The next head coach is going to be, right? Because, you know, some coaches might feel like they just need a veteran quarterback and they can, you know, do something with this roster, because this roster, on the offensive side of the ball, it has a lot of pieces to it already. I mean, it's solid offensive line. It's not one of the perfect, it's not the best offensive line, but the offensive line is solid. We was 9th in rushing this year. Pass protection was not that bad, especially if you get a mobile quarterback in. I think so. For me, if you're gonna decide to actually take a quarterback in a draft, I would move up. That's just me. But at the end of the day, it's still going to depends on who's the next head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. Black culture and the whole NFL is basically black. Oh, y'all crazy. That's true. That's true. But Atlanta is a black city. It really is, man. However, I think Bill Belichick could be fine. I think he'll be fine here. It still will be weird because I don't know that whole Patriot Way thing. I don't think that. And then, can you imagine him talking to the Atlanta media? I mean, because he really the way he talks to the media, man. Everybody's talking about Archie Smith, the way he talked to the media, but Bill Belichick is on a whole different level, man. He's in the Greg Popovich kind of when he talked to the media, man. So that'll be interesting to see how that dynamic will work. So, I think Ben Johnson will be the good fit with the talent we have on our offense, and then move up and try to get Caleb Williams. So, great point. Ben Johnson definitely could be a good fit, but like I just told everybody else, Ben Johnson has never been a head coach before, and he's the highly touted offensive coordinator coming out this draft cycle, this coaching cycle, right? Just like Arthur Smith was. So how we know he's going to pan out? How we know he's going to be able to do the same thing he did in Detroit? That's just my point. I'm just putting it out there because Arthur Smith, the reason he got the job because he was number 1 and 2 in red scoring offense for 2 years in a row, right? Ben Johnson been a top 5 offense since 2022. So 2 years in a row, he's been a top 5 offense. Sound like Arthur Smith to me, coming out from coaching. Now we know how he turned out. What's the difference? This I'm just throwing it out there. Ben Johnson is a good candidate, though. The Bears dictate what the Falcons do. Keep Fields, we trade up. Draft a pick, we trade for Fields. No other team is trading us. Yep, I agree. Commanders need a quarterback. They're probably going to get a quarterback. So it's really up to the Chicago Bears. The question is, will they decide to keep Fields or not? One thing interesting to note out there, guys, that Caleb Williams has not declared for the NFL yet. He has 4 days left. So that's an interesting note. He has not declared for the draft yet. Remember, he does not have to come out this year. He could decide to, go back to college and things like that. So that's one of the things to think about. Caleb Williams has not declared yet. Now, it's not as I know. Maybe he have now. I haven't looked and seen anything, but as of right now, he has not, to my knowledge. So he's not even. So if that's somebody that Chicago wanted, that was their guy, and now he's not even declaring for the draft. Maybe they might decide to keep Justin Fields, or they might trade out to the pick. And the Atlanta Falcons have to decide if one of those other guys, like a Jalen Daniels, right? Because I think he's a wild card for a lot of teams because of his ability. So that's another guy that the Falcons could consider as well, especially if you get a guy like a Bobby Slovic or a Ben Johnson, one of those guys, those upcoming young coordinators that could groom a young quarterback. So that's, like I said, it depends on who the coach going to be, in my opinion. The direction that the team goes in the quarterback as well. The Bears basically have us by the balls. They do. That's a good point. If Bill if Bill can have we trade partner with the Patriots at number 3 overall, they need a lot of picks with see that's a good so this is a good point. So let's hypothetically say that the Bears stay put, right? And they pick a let's say they pick Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Because they're going to keep Justin Fields, right? They pick Marvin Harrison Jr. They decide they're going to keep Justin Fields, so they go get one of the best players coming out of the draft, which is, and now you got 2, potentially number 1 receivers on your roster to help out a guy like Justin Fields. You already got your tight end and Cole Kmet, right? So you're set. You just set your young quarterback up, Justin Fields, up to really, really be good, going in next year. So just say the Bears pick Marvin Harrison Jr. The Commanders probably going to pick a quarterback, right? The Falcons move up number 3, right? That's only 5 spots, still moving up 7 spots. And to your point, just say if it is a guy like Bill Belichick, right? Which I don't think, because Bill Belichick kind of hardly never, the way he handled the draft, so many years, right? He kind of not like to freaking move up. He wanted to move back, right? Because he felt like, it's the talent and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be new, saying Bill Belichick. But the Patriots, they got a relationship there with Bill. Maybe that's something they do, but the Patriots might need a quarterback as well. So that's something you got to think about. The Patriots more than likely going to draft a quarterback as well. So if that's the case, the Patriots not moving out. So then you have to move to 4, so on and so forth. At this time now, you're maybe getting the second or third best quarterback, and you wanted the best quarterback. So that's why for me, when I said after this season, the Atlanta Falcons need to do something big, right? Do something big. Now I didn't know big was going out and hiring a freaking Hall of Fame coach. Some say might be the greatest coach of all time, right? I didn't know that's the route they was going. I was thinking about moving up to number 1, trading assets to get a quarterback. I was thinking something along the lines of that. But we'll have to see about the quarterback position. Say Wood would not receive well in the A. Yeah, winning cures all, man. Winning, yeah, I agree. A lot of people might be upset at first, but once you see the product on the field, and if he could, start to win games and show something that the Atlanta Falcons, fans haven't seen, it'll change. I really believe that. I agree for you 100%. I don't know right off the bat, because right now it looks like the most people saying, and this is the funniest part about it, right? A lot of people saying we want a coach that ain't never been a head coach before. We want him. He's a better. How like you don't know that. Like I get your preference, but you can't sit here and tell me that for sure that a guy like Bobby Slocum, a guy like Ben Johnson is going to come in and be successful. You don't freaking know that. You don't know that, man. So like, you got who you want, who you like. I understand that, but you don't know how successful they're gonna be. And Bill Belichick, right? Maybe it's done. Maybe he can't get it done no more. Maybe he has, grown out of touch with the young players now, and his method does not work right anymore. Right? We that might be the case, but you can't say it never worked because he won 6 Super Bowls, so you can't say it never worked. But you can say that he might have grown out of touch. The league has passed him by. Just need to go on and do like the Nick Saban and things like that. You can say those things because that could be true, but you can't say that it never worked though. That's one thing you can't say about a guy that has the track record. All I'm saying is that for me, I don't know what's the difference in the hiring Arthur Smith and they're hiring all these other young guys. And then you give them 1 year to prove themselves. So that's where I'm at. And Wallace said, well, D'Amico Ryan's never been a head coach either, and head coaches are just like draft picks, hit or miss. I agree with you 100%. Like I said, while you just coming on, but I said that maybe you might find a D'Amico Ryan's, maybe you might find a Mike Tomlin, maybe you might just find that. And if they believe that, they're gonna pick him anyway. That's what they need to do. I agree with you 100%. You never know, right? You never know. So I'm just saying, what's the difference? Like pretty much every coach they have hired been a first-time head coach. So it's not like they haven't taken chances on first-time head coaches before. So, like, we can't even say that because pretty much Arthur Blank has done that every time. He has taken a chance on a first-time head coach. He has done that every time. Has taken the chance on the first-year head coach, except Bob Petrino and Dan Reeves. Let me correct myself. Dan Reeves was not a first-time head coach. Bob Petrino, which I don't know if that really counts because he didn't even finish the season. He left the team, but everybody else he have coached. He has done this 5 different times, right? And Mike Smith, Dan Quinn, Arthur Smith, those coaches, Jim Marver Jr., right? Those 4 coaches was all first-time head coaches. They was all really, really good assistants coaches when they decided to hire them. They was really, really all highly touted to be, good, great potential, good head coaches. And that's the outcome. So all I'm saying is maybe Arthur Blank is 82 years old. He decided to go a different route because most of the time he went for the new fresh guy, and it didn't work out for him. That's all I'm saying, guys. That's it. Either one of these guys could turn out to be great. I'm just saying that maybe, he's thinking, I don't have that many, many years left, and I want to win. So I'm gonna go for something that, in a day it might not work anyway. So just saying that. Damn, bro, let's be honest. We missed the hell out of Kyle Shanahan. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That's a great point. And that's why, Dan Quinn went to the Super Bowl, but Dan Quinn had Matt Ryan and Kyle Shanahan. So how good as a coach really Dan Quinn was, right? Maybe he lasted longer than he should have lasted, but he had a veteran quarterback and he had a great, great offensive coordinator to lead his team for him. Wakanda, do you think we get Bieniemy here as OC? We get a veteran head coach? I don't know. I think, like I said, I think Bieniemy be a good offensive coordinator for Atlanta Falcons because of the weapons here. Depends on who the coach is, though. That's the point of it is who will be the coach. The crazy thing about it, if a Bill Belichick come in, you already know who he's probably going to bring in, right? So that's the kind of things that just going to turn fans off, right? You're going to just bring your Josh McDaniels back in, and we saw what Josh McDaniels was able to do. Now, as an offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels is pretty good, right? But as a head coach, he was terrible. He don't know how to groom young quarterbacks either. So I that's all those great points about Bill Belichick, because he bring in Josh McDaniels, right? That's not going to sit well. Maybe with but we know Josh McDaniels, offensive coordinator, has really been good because that first season of Matt Jones, right? They was able to get in the playoffs as Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator. So, he still has something out there as a coordinator, but as a coach, as a head coach, he just not the right guy. We should be able to get one of the 2 top 3 quarterbacks in the draft. See, that's my point, Wallace. I don't want one of them. I want the best guy. That's why I'm saying move up. I don't want the one of the 3. I want the best one. So that's just me. Whoever they think the best, that's who they should. That's why they should move up to get him. Because if they're gonna settle for, like, on their board, just say they put the quarterbacks up on the board, it's the first, second, and third, right? Like, I wouldn't say if we get my 3rd one, I'll be happy. No, I want the top one. That's what I want, right? And if they have the ability to do that, that's all I'm saying. So, and they have the capital, the draft capital to do it. They can move up, if a team is willing to move out one of those spots. The problem with hiring Bill is the staff he will be bringing. I just mentioned that, right? That's one of the things that will be the turn off for a lot of us, right? The staff he'll be bringing in. So, all I'm saying is just if he could just come here and just coach, and let Terry and that person, because we got a great personnel department, man. They top notch. I mean, Terry's working now. He already hired 15 future contracts and things like that. He's working now. I mean, the things that he was doing, the last 3 seasons, Terry's still, churning them out, right? Making sure this roster is going to be set. So let the personnel department do that. You be the coach. Y'all decide on the draft and the free agencies once that happens. But at the end of the day, whoever comes in the coach, right? They need to worry about getting this team to the levels, the expectations that we thought they could. We thought they could probably be this year. So they said that they're not going to get Bob Petrino the way as well because they got burned, right? So they're not. I don't think they're going to get no college. I don't think they're definitely not going into the college ranks. That's 100% not going to be the case, right? But remember, Jim Harbaugh is not really considered the college ranks because he already been proven in the NFL, so he would be the exception with that. But so it's going to be interesting to see. The crazy thing about this is that they put out it's 9 coaches requests pretty much that they already decided. They already got the Rooney Rule out the way, right? So because they got to do that, right? So what if they just doing this and then at the end of the day they like, we still want Bill Belichick, right? That's what some people saying, right? But in the end of the day, what I said earlier on this show was that all these coaches that's going to come in, they got to sell the Atlanta Falcons or why they're going to be the next guy, right? They got to have the vision. They got to have when they ask you what you're going to do with the quarterback position, right? How you going to get this offense, to do better than it did last year, right? If they can lay out their game plan, right, like I'm be able to utilize the number 4th overall pick, Kyle Pitts, and be able to show that he is what they was drafted in. He is that talented, right? We're gonna be able to take this running game to the next level. We're gonna be able to create the balance. We're gonna be able to score points, right? That's the vision that this team, all these guys, gonna have to be able to sell to them. And maybe, just maybe, with all these interviews, somebody blow them away. The story about Mike Tomlin, right? Because we know Mike Tomlin in Tampa Bay with Tony Dungy. When he went and interviewed for the Pittsburgh Steelers job, he blew them away. And now, 17 years later, he's still the coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's what I'm talking about. So, not saying that Bill Belichick is they're going to go ahead and decide to get a veteran guy. One of these guys might come in and blow them away. And they can, they was like, you know what? That's my guy. That's why you have to go through this process, right? Because you just don't know. And you have to give them kudos for that. They question all these guys that come in. These guys got to be able to sell their vision, their plans for this team moving forward, and whatever it may be. And if they decide to go that route again with a first-year head coach, because he blew them away. All right, I can say the same, but I can say the same thing. I'm pretty sure Dan Quinn and Archie Smith blew him away as well, right? Mike Smith was a little bit older, he wasn't on the young side like those other guys were, but he had never been a head coach before, and we had actually think about it, Mike Smith probably the winningest coach in Falcons history. I think we had 5 winning seasons with Mike Smith. I don't think we can say that about the last 2 coaches we had. So, I mean that's just the nature of the beast. As long as we get the best candidate, they feel they can come in with their philosophies to get the team back to winning. All. So yeah, I agree. I mean but that's why I don't have a preference. Most guys got their lists and their preferences. I don't have a preference because I don't even know, man. I just knew for a fact when they hired Arthur Smith, I was like, man, he's gonna bring that freaking offense to Atlanta, and we got better weapons. That's what I was thinking. And then like he was. It looked like he didn't know what the hell he was doing with the talent he had. It was bad, man. So, like, I don't know. I have no idea who they're going to bring in. But we all know what needs to be fixed, right? We see it. And, I mean, if I could go in and put my name on the request and be a head coach, I give my vision what I think we need to do with the team. I would just hire a lot of great coaches around me, right? And I just be a figurehead, man. That's what I would do. I take this my vision. I hire this guy, and but then what I would do, I would demand excellence. That's what I would do in practice. If you don't play well in practice, because that's where it starts, right? You're not going to play in the game. It's just me. Maybe I'm old school, things like that, but I'm gonna throw my name in the coach's search. How about that? Y'all remember everybody wanted Kyle Shanahan fired because Roddy White was upset. Fans was 2015. We went 8-8. We remember we won the first 5 games, then we went 8-8, and Kyle Shanahan basically was pushing Roddy out the door. He was feeding Julio every time, right? And everybody thought that we wasn't going to be successful. Then next year we went to the Super Bowl. So, so I do remember that. False Falcon saying, I hope we trade up. Me too. I agree. Let's go get them. They getting intel from other coaches. Yeah, man. They trust me. I think the Falcons already know who they're going to hire. But they got to go through because like I said, one of these coaches might blow them away, man. Might blow him away. Don't be surprised if it's Raheem Morris. I think he's a good candidate. He's a sneaky candidate for the Atlanta Falcons. It won't be the sexy pick everybody want. I get it. But he's going to, I think the second time around, him being a head coach might actually be really good for him. So that's what I believe. I want Jim Harbaugh. He can coach quarterbacks. Yep, they're going to be. He will be what considered a big fish, right? Because the word on the street, they're going for a big fish. So Jim Harbaugh definitely would be considered that type of hire. It's literally like the NFL draft for coaches. You never know until it's a lot. It's a great. You never know, man. You never know what you're gonna get because you what you're doing. You want them to replicate what they did at their other stop. Well, first of all, of course, it's players, it's different players and things like that, right? So you want them to try to replicate what they did. But what happens is, and this will happen to Arthur Smith, right? Because he didn't want to replicate it. He wanted to come out and change it up and be new. That's why he failed. Because that's not what you got hired for. You got hired for what you did in Tennessee. Do the same thing here. And you would. That's why he failed, man, because he tried to switch it up, right? He changed it. You got better talent here. Do the same thing you did there with better talent, and maybe you would have succeeded. But they just too smart for their own good. That's what happens. Jackson, I believe Shannon did not like Roddy and wanted him out the roster. Yep. That was a bad situation. They just didn't get along. And Roddy had left. He had lost a step. He really did. He had lost a step. But bringing in a guy like Mohamed Sanu to Taylor Gabriel, man, we had a squad, man. That offense was electric, man. I mean, I was thinking playing that last game against the Aints, right? I thought we were gonna have one of those Falcon Ain't games where we put up like 30, 30, 40 points apiece. That was looked like that's the direction it was going in until Desmond Ridder showed up again in the second half. But those were some great days, man. Those were some great shootouts, man. And we lost some. Well, we lost a lot of those games. Even though we put up 30, 35, 42 points and things like that, we still lost. Because our defensive-minded head coach couldn't coach the defense. So what he was hired to do, once again, like, do what you did to get you the job. And that's not the case. Yep. Arthur Smith, downfall was his ego. He didn't put together a great offensive staff. You know what? I agree with you. Dave Ragone was not a good offensive coordinator. I don't know why you notice nobody ain't offered, for him offered to bring him in as a coach, right? They're not. So I guarantee you, somebody offered Dave Ragone, they won't block his they won't block it. They'll let him go. And they don't block our special team coach, Ryan Nielsen, and our offensive lineman coach, right? But I promise you, if somebody requests to speak to Dave Ragone, I guarantee you they'll let him do it. They won't block that one. Guarantee they won't block that one. Yeah, those Falcon and Aints matchups were fired with Shanahan. Yeah, man, they were, man. We used to blow some game. We used to blow their ass out. Like, it was great, man. See, with Devontae Freeman and Telvin Coleman was at their peak. It was awesome. It really was. So if we get Justin Fields for a second round pick, then what would you do with the number 8 pick? Oh, I go pass rusher all the way. We need to go defense. Defensive line. That's what I would do. Defense, pass rusher, defense, interior. We need to go defense all the way. So we don't have to give up our first round pick to get Justin Fields. Definitely 100%. I would go defense. Defensive line, So I haven't looked at the draftees yet. I know that the guy out of Alabama is coming out. Pass rusher is pretty solid. The defense end from UCLA is coming out pretty solid. So those ones I know just right off the top. Definitely, we get into the draft season, we're going to talk about those guys. But for me personally, if we're not able to have to give up our number 8 over our pick, go defense. Be the first time in 3 years in the Terry Fontenot era now, because Arthur Smith is gone. Terry Fontenot era that we go defense in that first pick in number 8. So what do you think about our wide receiver? We got one wide receiver on the contract right now, and that's Drake London. The other guys are free agents. Now that Terry Fontenot has signed up some guys to future contracts to come in, but I would think that if they're smart, they would try to go out and get a TJ Higgins from Cincinnati, somebody like that. Try to go get a second guy to go along with Drake London. I think that would be nice. And then you probably have to go in the draft and pick some receivers there. So that's what I would do at our wide receiver spot. Right now, we only got Drake London, so they got a lot of things they got to figure out. Ragone was coming from Chicago, should have stopped his hiring. Yeah, he was terrible, man. No, he wasn't there with Justin Fields. No, he was not. That was the first season of Arthur Smith with Justin Fields. Everybody thought they should have took Justin Fields in number 4, instead of Kyle Pitts. So, and maybe he should have, right? Because then he would have had a quarterback that he could have grown for 3 seasons. I mean, it would have been growing pains for Justin Fields because of the roster and the way the roster. Plus, we would still have Matt Ryan here to groom Justin Fields as well. So, hindsight 2020. And then the fact that you got Kyle Pitts looking like a bust, I think maybe they should have went Justin Fields, but you can't go back in time. But please explain me how the hell Jesse Bates is not, man. When you see things like that, you know the voting and all that crap is fake. It's bull, man. Winfield is not over Bates like that, and that's just ridiculous. He was he's probably the best safety in the league this year, right? I think he had over 130 some tackles, 6 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. Like, come on, man! Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I have don't make any sense for Jesse Bates not to be the first team All Pro. It's ridiculous. So, I mean, Winfield had a good season. He really did, but he didn't even see the stupid thing about it. He didn't even get a Pro Bowl nod. So I just don't understand. Like, it don't make sense to whoever vote for things like that. It's not like how they do the Hall of Fame and go to the NBA, how they do the All-Star voting and Defensive Player of the Years and all that kind of stuff. We know the writers, sport writers get saying some of those votes and things, and maybe that's the problem. So I don't know, because Terrell Owens, for an example, should have been first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, he had to wait 3 times. Like, I don't know. Like, it should be your play on the field, but it's like that's a perfect example. So the voting, however they do it, is flawed. But Jesse Bates definitely should have been first team All Pro, hands down, right? Which means a lot to we think about the Atlanta Falcons defense, how well it played, but we only had one All Pro on the team, right? So that's why they're blocking it. Coaching interviews for guys like Ryan Nielsen and Jerry Gray and things. Well, Jerry Gray haven't requested to talk to him yet, but that's why they're blocking it, because these teams played so well, and we only had one All Pro, and then we lost our other All Pro in Grady Jarrett, right? We lost we lost him for the season, so that speaks to how well this team played. I mean, the fact that we had 40 sacks and not one guy was at double-digit sacks speaks to the coaching and the way they put in, and then the personnel department where they put this team together, because they did that by committee, man. It's just amazing, and that's one of the things that hurts me the most about changing the coaching staff, because this was the first year the defense together. A lot of these guys coming back. And it's like you're going to lose that continuity if you decide to move on from the coaches and things like that. So that's why I believe I just don't like the move as much as a lot of people like it. I just think they should have made freaking Arthur Smith hire offensive coordinator and tell him you just be the head coach. That's what I think they should have did. I'm just ready to take over this sorry ass division. I agree, man. I agree. So let's say this. So we know Tom Brady left the Patriots, went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and went to the Super Bowl. What if Bill Belichick? It's like, come to the Atlanta Falcons and go to the Super Bowl and be like, so all we gotta do is leave our division, go to the NFC South, and we can win a Super Bowl. That would be awesome, right? That would be awesome. That would be amazing. Yeah, he was the assistant head coach. Yes, that's correct. Jerry Gray was. And he was hired as. Garwell said, I believe we have top 10 if Arthur Smith knew what he was. 100%. 100%. That's why I'm saying, like it's interesting. I wonder when they had that 3-hour meeting, the night he got fired, was he not willing to concede that he needed to make changes? I just wonder if that's, we never know the conversations there, but maybe he said, you know what, I got to fix this. I'm going to hire offense card. Maybe he wasn't willing to do none of that. Maybe he was saying, I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna fix it. And maybe his ego got like, I'm gonna fix this thing. Just give me time and stuff like that. I don't know, but Bill would need a veteran quarterback to come in and make that happen right away. True. I'm not arguing with that. We already talked about the veteran quarterbacks. Right? We got Russell Wilson, we got a Kirk Cousins, things like that. You heard the rumor Kirk Cousins willing to take a pay cut to stay with the Vikings, so that's interesting. So maybe he might be off the market right away if he decide to stay with the Vikings. Be interesting if the Vikings, decide to stay with him though. That's the question, right? Because he both of those guys are 35-year-old. So maybe like that's why I don't want to go the old route at the quarterback position. I just think we should start over. In that case, if you're gonna do that, maybe you go with one of these younger coaches. But the whole thing I'm thinking about the young coaches, guys, to end this, this show today, is the point that I really want to make and say, they can't tell this coach that he has to come in and win right away, especially if it's a young coach. He has to grow. He has to learn, right? He has to figure out the quarterback position. And even though we expect this team to do well next season, if they go the new coach route, I think it's going to take time. Maybe they find their guy, though, that's going to be here for a long time, like a DeMeco Ryans, like a Mike Tomlin, right? Somebody that came in, like a John Harbaugh that been with the Patriots, with the Ravens for so many years, right? Maybe they might find those young guys to come in and be that for the Atlanta Falcons. But the expectations that they have put out already, saying that they want to win right away, it's in my opinion, it's going to be tough for a first-year head coach. So that's why I just believe that, especially that does not have a quarterback already here. That's the thing you got to think about. And, if it's a first-year head coach, a young coach, personally for me, I definitely would go get me a young quarterback to grow with me, right? That's how I would do it. I wouldn't go veteran. I wouldn't go with a veteran guy. I wouldn't suggest that. I would go with a young guy, somebody that I could groom and build, and we could grow together and be successful together. But Arthur Blank, Rich McKay, those guys got to be willing to let that happen, right? They got to let the growth, happen. You can't rush it. But if you're coming in saying that you want to win now, this team is already set to win. It makes me think that they're going to go with maybe a Raheem Morris or maybe a Steve Wilkes, right? Guys that has head coaching experience, or they go for the big fishes, Big Fish and Bill Belichick and Jim Harbaugh. So I think what most people said about the Los Angeles Chargers, who they decide to pick as their head coach, will start to determine the dominoes for all the other teams. Remember, it is 7 teams that need a head coach. I still believe Atlanta Falcons have probably the second most attractive job for those 7 teams. And so, great stadium, believe it or not, passionate fan base, solid pieces on defense, solid pieces on offense, just don't have a quarterback. But the new head coach gets to pick his quarterback. So that's where it should be. That's how it should be. I think the second best job, that's on the market right now for head coaches. But we just have to wait to see. One good thing about all these coaches, most of them will still be building their resumes. This wild card weekend that's coming up. I think most of the interviews going to go during division week, which is next week. So we'll start hearing about, some of these guys actually have interviews and things like that. They request interviews, but nothing probably going to happen until after the game. this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. Then we'll start hearing like some of these interviews from the coaches, and we'll see how it pans out in the long run. But they need to figure it out. The Senior Bowl is coming up in a couple of weeks, so I would like for we already know the scouts going to be there. The coaching staff need to be there as well. But right now, we don't know if these coaches are going to be there. So, I know the Atlanta Falcons say they want to take their time with this, but Atlanta Falcons need to go ahead and decide who's going to be the next head coach, sooner rather than later, because, off seasons pretty much has already started, right? Of course, the scouting department doing their thing and all that stuff. However, Senior Bowl is coming up here in 2 weeks. Right after that, you start getting ready for the combine, so on and so forth, pro days, right? All this stuff starting to happen right rapidly. In March, you're going to have the new league year, free agency, line down the line. You got to make a decision on if you're going to pick up Kyle Pitts' fifth-year option. You're going to see if you're going to pay AJ Terrell. So it's a lot of things that, this team got to figure out. That's why the coach need to be in place. So I think it's big. It's huge. We're going to see how it pan out in the long run. We need a bridge quarterback, though. Yeah, and he's not on the roster right now. I agree with you. So to your point about the bridge, so they could bring in a guy like Russell Wilson and still draft a quarterback. It's a great point about bringing in the bridge guy. Then, bring in the Russell Wilson and have the rookie not have to get on the field right away. That's a great point. If you start over, then we will not make the dent next year. It will take 2 years. Yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm making, man. I don't think you hire a good young coach and tell him you got the roster, you better win. Like, okay, good luck with that. Like, what should they do with your boy Desmond? It could be a backup. It's a good backup quarterback. I think you're a good backup quarterback. Dad's got to sit behind a veteran and learn for 3 years. Somebody will pick him up. They let him go. I doubt we'll make. No, we're not going to. We're not going to let him. I think he's on the contract. I think that I believe Desmond Ridder is going to be a career backup. That's what I believe. And if he's not, I'll retract my statement once I see it happens. But I've seen enough. I've seen 19 games. For me, that's enough. That is enough. I just think that we've seen enough for a guy like Desmond Ridder to be our franchise quarterback anyway. So, guys, that's all I have today. I really appreciate all you guys coming in on a Friday to talk about this. It's exciting, right? Because we finna get something new here for the Atlanta Falcons and to give us hope, hopefully, because after watching this season and running it back with the same thing, I think from an owner standpoint, he had to make this decision because we was out on Arthur Smith completely. Even though I think that it was haste. I think they shouldn't. I still think it was just too fast for me. But he did it to himself. This season was just terrible. It's really no other way to sugarcoat it. It was bad. It was a bad season. And it just didn't work out. Right? I think Arthur Smith maybe get hired again as offensive coordinator. Right? So seven coaching vacancies out there. Maybe Mike Vrabel, for an example, gets a head coaching job and then decide to make Arthur Smith his offensive coordinator again. Could definitely see that happening because they had success there when they was a team. So I don't think it's over for Arthur Smith, but maybe just like Raheem Morris, and if Raheem Morris decide get a second chance, maybe that's what Arthur Smith needs as well. But it's time for the future Atlanta Falcons to give us hope. We'll see who the next guy going to be. If it's one of those big fish, you know, the expectation is going to be way up here next year, right? If it's one of those other guys, I don't think they should put that much expectation on those guys. I think they need to get these guys get in and build their team like they want to. So that's what it is. Thank you guys coming in. I like all you guys coming. Guys that did not was able to catch the live, please put your comments in. I respond to all comments all the time, all the ways. Shout out to all the other Falcon content creators that's out there doing their thing. Let's get together. Let's talk soon. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.